Hi friends, it's me Ali, your friendly neighborhood Chanel expert. And today we're doing another video in the Ask a Chanel Expert series. I used to work for Chanel, I no longer work for them, but I have retained a lot of information. And today we're talking about the age-old question, what is my foundation shade? So today I will share all of my information. I will basically act as if you are sitting in front of me at the counter, and I will go ahead and hopefully find a shade match for you. I've done a video already breaking down all of the different categories of foundation available at Chanel, the different finishes and who they're meant for. Both videos are complementary to each other, but they're not prerequisites, so you can watch them in either order. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. All right, make yourself comfortable. Please remove any scarves or jackets. That way I can suss you up and hopefully make a good shade match. Now, I'm going to include some timestamps and I will be referencing my notes here because I have a lot of information I'd like to share with you. The first thing we need to establish is that there is a difference between shade range and undertone. Undertone means cool, warm, neutral olive. The shade range is the spectrum of shades available. So we're going to go ahead and break that down because Chanel, like every brand, has a special vocabulary to use, and some of the information here will be specific to Chanel, which may not translate to other brands, and we're going to go ahead and explain that. So when it comes to shade range, this is simply the range of pigment available. We start off with the very fair. When we go all the way, we're going to be using the Chanel Les Beige foundation as a reference because they are the ones with the most shade range available. So it goes from very fair or fair to the intense dark deep. And that's what that means, the shade range. It has nothing to do with undertone, anything like that. It really just means where you sort of fall in place. And depending on the season, you may oscillate 1 or 2 shades. Really, that's it. And so that's important to sort of figure out where you might lie in the shade range for each brand, but in particular for today, for Chanel. I like to think of the shade range as a moving needle. So we start off with fair, and you have quite a few undertones available in this category before you hit medium. Now, I personally am in the medium range. I'm a 30 in winter and 40 in summer, which gives me a solid medium category. And between medium, you start to go into the intense, intense medium range. And here you'll also get all sorts of undertones available, and I'll provide models along the way. So here we have the intense medium, we have dark medium as well. So hopefully at home, based off of my shade references, you can sort of put yourself in the category here. We have intense dark medium as well, which will also have undertones available. After that, we have the very intense dark medium, again, undertones available. And then we will have the medium light deep, medium light deep, the deep shades, and the intense deep, followed by the dark deep and intense dark deep. And regardless of where you lie along this beautiful accordion of shades, you will have nuances in each little category, which I think is where people get confused the most. Oftentimes people are able to sort of decide if they're an intense, medium, dark, deep, or a light, but within each category, there is also undertone. So undertone refers to B, BR, BD, and BO. And this is specific to Chanel. This is the vocabulary that they use. So for Chanel, anytime you see a foundation that says B, like a B40, if it's a B40 or a B130, this is neutral. There is no redness, there's no orange, there's no green, it's a neutral shade. So that's important to figure out. So again, doesn't matter where you are on the sliding scale. If it says B110, B400, B10, it's neutral. After that, for Chanel, we also have BR. For Chanel, R means rosé, which means pink. So anything R will be cool toned. That is Chanel's fancy French language for cool. So BR means cool. For example, the BR42 is going to have a little bit of rosiness to it, and you can sort of see it here with the model. So that's the BR42. And if we just go up the sliding scale here, BR132, we can see that even though this is a much deeper shade, you still have that cool pink rosiness. That's what the R stands for. Moving on to BD. For Chanel, D means doré, which means gold, golden. So anything with a D, a BD, means warm. You're going to have more warmth, more gold. That's the nuance here. And again, it doesn't matter where you may lie in the shade range. The BD, if we do BD01, this is very fair, but with a little bit of gold to it. So we can see this model here, very fair, but there is a little bit of warmth in the foundation. If we slide up just a little bit, BD51 is deeper. This is more in the medium intense shade range. It's past me just a little bit, just a hair. And this one here is warm. There's a little bit of warmth and goldenness to this foundation here. And Chanel recently, I believe this year, they added a little bit more nuance to their foundation, specifically with the Les Beige. They added the BO. The O stands for olive undertones. So this is anyone who might have a little bit of green. I know that sounds a bit shocking, but that's what the olive means. And it, again, depends where you are on the scale. There is that little bit of green undertone. So let's go ahead and give examples of that here as well. The BO73, which would land in the very intense dark medium with an olive undertone here. So that's what this model would be wearing here. So you can see a little bit of that olive. When I say green, I don't mean like Kermit the Frog. I mean just a little bit of that olive Mediterranean base. And so that's BO73. And they have a few of the olive shades. I think that the olive undertone is the most underserved community, and even though Chanel has a few olive undertones in the foundations, it's not spectacular, but it's better than nothing. We also have the BO53. So this would be medium intense, I believe. It's a little bit lighter, so it's dark medium, but again, you have olive underneath. So I'm glad that this photo is here actually with this model, because one thing I wanted to touch on when we're trying to shade match, I like to match specifically on the jawline. Some people like to go in the middle of the face, just the chest, the hand. The hand is probably the worst place because your hand and your face are in fact different colors. But in my opinion, and since you're here sitting in front of me swatching, I would go ahead and do swatches on the neck, or not the neck, but the jawline. Not just the jaw, but the jawline. And you want a little bit less than you think. You don't want that much foundation. When you think of it, you don't actually add that much foundation to your entire face. So when you're doing a swatch, you don't want tons of product, just like a little fingertip, like a little pea-size amount. And you want to just blend it out into your neck and chest here. And it's good to do a couple of swatches, 2 or 3. And essentially, the one that disappears into nothing is the one you want. If you cannot see it, that's usually the foundation that you want. There are a few caveats to that, because I know that there are some people who have a deeper perimeter, like the perimeter of their face is a little bit deeper. And so if they go ahead and match this perimeter here, then they tend to darken their face with the foundation. In that case, if you do have a deeper perimeter, I would actually match to the center of the face. If you are someone who has a lot of redness, some people have rosacea or just redness, I ignore the redness. Not every centimeter of your face will have redness. So instead of trying to match the redness, I would actually match places of the face that are more neutral, that are just not as inflamed or red. Because if you try to match with the redness, you're going to end up with a very cool toned base foundation undertone, and it's probably just going to make everything look more red and more pink. So I would say avoid matching the redness, match around anything else. And if you're someone who has a face who is lighter than your neck or your chest, I think almost all of us have a little bit of difference, but if you're someone who has a significant difference between their face and the rest of the body, I would still match with the jawline here, and then I would simply go in with a bronzer. Instead of trying to match here, especially if it's like 1, 2, or 3 tones different, I would go ahead and just match here just to get as close as possible, and then go in with bronzer around the neck and jawline just to make everything a little bit more cohesive. Now, if you're trying to determine which undertone you want, if you're looking for the neutral, the cool tone, the warm, the olive, I think most people who are olive already know that by now, but there are a few tests, and I have to say, even though there are tests out there that are very simple, they are still confusing and they still lead to a lot of mistakes. I'll go ahead and break it down how I would suss it out for you, but this may be something that you need to test out in person in natural light at a store, and just go into your car and look, see for yourself how it looks. So if you are cool toned, if you are the BR, this is someone who has cool undertone. This is someone who, if you look at their veins, you see blue veins. This is someone who rarely tans. If they go out into the sun, they burn. There is no golden tan available to them. They just go from pale to lobster. And this is someone who, when they wear jewelry, they tend to look nicer with more silver tones, more cool toned jewelry. The BD, the warm, the golden, the doré. This is someone whose veins tend to be more green. This is someone who will tan instantly. They instantly look like they've been kissed by the sun gods, and they tend to wear gold jewelry very nicely. If you are a straight B, this is someone who is neutral. So someone who can in fact wear gold and silver jewelry. If they look at their veins, they're not sure. They may in fact see both green and blue veins. It may be a mixture of both. Those people are the most blessed in life, because neutral tends to be very flattering universally, so they can just basically find almost any foundation that works for them. If you're someone who has a more olive undertone, you can in fact wear both the gold and silver jewelry. However, your skin might just have the slightest yellow or green undertone, and oftentimes when you wear the wrong undertone foundation, your skin tends to look a bit sallow and gray. So that's a good hint. And these are just general rules about determining your undertone, but like I stated, this category does sadly lead to a lot of not misinformation, but just mistakes. So I would strongly encourage you to go to a boutique. Now that we've sort of established the shade range and the undertones, if you can sort of suss that out for yourself, go to a counter, do a few swatches, and see for yourself what looks the most natural and the healthiest, and like you are wearing zero makeup. And on that note, I believe I have confused you enough, hopefully not too much. I hope you take the time to subscribe to my channel. I talk a lot about luxury beauty, a lot about Chanel, of course. I have a lot of knowledge about that brand and other brands as well. And I do a lot of very informative reviews and videos in general. So please take the time to subscribe. Leave a comment down below letting me know what else you would like to see from this series or my channel in general. I may go ahead and do a Chanel summer vacation makeup look. I think that could be interesting for the warmer summer months. Go ahead and sound off down below. And if you have made it to the end of today's video, please go ahead and leave a little red heart emoji in honor of the lipstick that I'm wearing today. On that note, that is all I have for you guys for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.